yesterday would be a consolidation day after lunchtime when we had reached plenty high enough. And then I said today would start out as a consolidation day, but eventually we should squeeze higher for 51 quarter half, 55 quarter, and potentially even 59 quarter. In any event, once we got to 59 quarter, we said we'd pull back potentially to 51 quarter. And then when we got there, I said we could still see 49 quarter, 48.75, but that's probably low enough. We resold a bounce, had to be north of 52.75 area, and it was. We took profit 50.75, and then we'd squeeze up to 57 plus, sold it again. So I think all in all, everyone should have had a good day no matter what you did, no matter how much you got. But in an effort to make things better, as you know, we revised the website. As you know, we have a lot of videos on the website that I've taken each bit of the headings, like entries and exits, normal versus aggressive, stops, trading pad, that kind of thing, and done a separate video for each one of those headings, trying to hit on all the topics that we get asked most frequently, or the feedback that we get telling us which points were the most helpful. So in an effort to give you yet a different perspective, we brought in Moderator B in both the silver and free trial room because he went through the whole gamut of being a free trial member, transitioned to a silver member, and has been here for about a year. Also, his insight is not from my perspective. Rather, it's from your perspective, because he's not on staff here. He hasn't been trained in gold or platinum room. He's gone through the gamut, but he's been able to make it work for him, filter, the posts so that they're in usable format from a transitioning trader. I say it all the time. I maybe haven't said it in a while, but that's probably the single most difficult aspect of what we do. Reading the market, posting it, trading it are nowhere near as complicated as getting through to a struggling or frustrated or win some, lose some retail trader. You have to get to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is how they've been taught to even think about the market in the first place and how to approach the market. 90% or better of the traders out there have chasing mentality. The other 9% have fade mentality. They just want to go against the grain just for the sake of going against the grain. They're both silly. How about we do what the market's saying that we should do and trade in concert with what the market's telling us, when, where, and how the market's telling us, because it changes all the time. If it didn't change all the time, it would always be doing the same thing and you could program it to do it. But that's not very realistic. It's not realistic at all. Rather, we have to stay flexible. The market generates where the market's going, from where to where, and a lot of times how long that should take. If you're doing anything other than that, that means you think you're smarter than the market, or you're trying to outsmart the market. All you're doing really is outsmarting yourself. You're prohibiting yourself from getting what's there because you're trying to convince yourself of some algorithm or some matrix or some other systematized approach. And if the market followed a system, it would do the same thing all the time. So it doesn't follow any system because obviously it doesn't do the same thing all the time. Not the same way, not the same rhythm, not the same timing, not the same duration, not the same parameters, not the same magnitude, nothing. So anybody that wants to cookie cut anything is being stubborn and unrealistic about their approach to the market. So as I said a few minutes ago, the hardest thing we have to do is change essentially the hearts and minds of retail traders and how they approach the market. The best way to get in sync with the market is through taking lots of notes, and putting the lines on your chart, horizontal lines, for the levels the market will use. And think of it in a connect the dots kind of fashion with point or so risk. Now that's where we get into some complication, because we had that conversation yesterday. This tick or that tick, if that's your universe, if that's your world, if you can't get out of your own way and you obsess over this tick or that tick, you're never going to make it, and you're never going to trade size. It's as simple as that. As I say all the time, I want you to think in concepts, not in absolutes. And also, I told you to write this down on your pads yesterday. Pro traders trade, retail traders think, contemplate, and find reasons not to trade. They can find justification not to do anything, not to take any kind of action. So they never get results. And the results they get are hit and miss and win and lose, and you can't repeat it, and they can't count on it. And they're forever stuck in that vicious cycle of tiny-minded thinking and tiny-minded trading. And you can't get out of that if you keep doing the same tiny-minded things over and over again. So what I want you to do is think in concepts. Essentially, when we put a trade on, we've got point or so risk. Now, if your mind automatically goes to define the or so part, you're missing the big picture. You're missing most of the day of what's available to you. If we don't have the trade, the turn, within a point or so, that ain't the turn. So it's not necessary to take a lot of risk. Here's what changes that. Are you getting in before the level? Sufficiently before the level? Just before the level? At the level? Through the level? So obviously your risk and the risk parameters are going to change based on A, where your entry is, but B, how the market's behaving relative to the levels we post, and adjusting accordingly. So if you're getting, 2 or 3 ticks in front of something, well, then you've got a little more risk if somebody's getting in closer to the level. It doesn't always happen, though, because it's not always the case. So we have to pay attention to the market and how it's behaving. Now, if you're forever missing trades, you're probably too conservative. And as we say all the time, mildly aggressive beats too conservative all the time. If you're forever grabbing your chest as it goes a little bit too far through your entry and then goes in the direction we want, then you're probably entering a little too early. If you're getting them all, but getting them all too early one day and you're missing them all the next day, then you're varying your level of aggression, and it's directly out of sync with the market. We say all the time, retail traders do everything wrong. Virtually everything backwards, everything wrong. If you're 180 degrees out of sync, that means you are over trading choppy days and under trading big momentum days. Further to that, it usually means your entries are out of sync, because on a slow range or choppy day, you can work them a little deeper. On a momentum big range day, you better get in or you're going to miss a big run. All right? So by identifying those things, you can help get to the root of your own individual problem. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been given online guidance since '99. I've got a pretty good handle of what makes traders tick, how they think, and the mistakes that they made after working with well over 1,000 traders. You start to see the patterns develop in the behavioral side of the traders. There isn't 20 things that they can do wrong or 200 things. It's more like 5, and it's usually the big 3. So this isn't rocket science, but it's going on inside your head. When you look at the end of the day and the levels that we posted, and you see how the market behaved, you should be having light bulbs come on and say, oh, all I had to do was what was posted. Right. Now the question is, why didn't you? Well, and here come the excuses, right? I thought this, I felt that, I thought I was going to do this, I heard that, I read that. Last time it did. All those are good stories, and a long one too, but they're not going to make you any money. You've got to decide. You either trust the market or you don't trust the market. This isn't coming from me. I'm not that smart. This is coming from the market. I just know how to read it. So all you have to do is follow instructions, because the instructions are given from the market, by the market, for us to use. Okay? You've heard me say similar things 100 times. Maybe having a different perspective will help with that, perspective that isn't the direction giver, but a fellow direction taker that's gone through the journey, sat where you sat, tried to make heads or tails of what's been posted, and then done that, conquered it, and come up with his own way of doing things. Now, it's fine if you come up with your own shorthand for your note-taking. I can't stress enough, do not take notes on your keyboard and store them in your computer. You won't learn a damn thing like that. You have to use a pad and write them down. That way, it will make sense to you. For the purposes of presenting this, Moderator B is going to show you what he does, the journey, and explain the journey he took in coming to his own balance of note-taking, line drawing, that kind of thing. I think it will be very, very beneficial. You don't have to do exactly what I'm showing you or saying. You don't have to do exactly what he's showing you or saying. You need to come up with something that works for you, as long as you're not modifying the way it should be done, because it comes from the market. Please keep that in mind. Okay, without further ado, I am going to make Moderator B the presenter.
Okay, well, I'm going to spend a few minutes and talk with you guys. I guess I would title this How to Get Started in the Silver Room. But it's really aimed at all of us, even those of us who have been here for a while, because I still go through these steps every day. But it's a good way to take all the information. When you first come here, you're bombarded with a whole new way of doing something, and sometimes it's hard to assimilate all of that information. I'm a silver room trader, just like you guys. My job is to bring perspective to you, try to help you learn the basics, learn what I had to learn, what everybody has to learn to become successful. And by the way, we are all very blessed to be able to look over a professional trader's shoulder, essentially, get what's coming out of his mind, get what he's reading from the market, and to be able to use that information for our own benefit. So I appreciate HT having the silver room available, and our job as beginning traders, moving from, let's say, a newbie or a retail trader into the realm, I assume most people's goal is to move into the realm of a pro trader. Somehow, we've got to flush out what we've been doing, put in what HT teaches here at Leading Edge. And what I've come to find out over the many months is that HT has probably forgotten more about trading than most people know. So it's overwhelming sometimes to hear somebody talk from a professional trader standpoint. And my job then is to just show you guys what I do and how I started learning from the very beginning, just like you guys all are, and some of you, we've all gone through that. When I get through this, I've got a 10-step process that I go through, and really you can kind of apply that to a daily thing that I go through, or even as I was starting, as those moving over from the free trial room into the silver room. Really, this is kind of the progression that you should be taking to get yourself to the point where you can be trading live and eventually ramping up size. And it all starts with the website. We have a new website now. We've got videos available. There's a lot of reading. There's a section on there that says before you begin. Everybody should be reading that multiple times before you even start trying to do anything with trading. There's a whole section on use of terms. It's got videos in there and written things to teach you abbreviations and things, how things here. So that's the first thing. Get yourself on the right page so you understand what's going on. But my number one, the very first thing, obviously, is read the posts. Number one is you got to read the posts. Seems pretty obvious. And as I go through this list, I'm going to get to the end, and some of you, something's going to click, and you're going to go, okay, that was the step I needed. There was something in there I just wasn't quite doing, or maybe it's just an extra little thing that will help you move to the next step. That's fine. Some of you will look at it, and you'll go, wow, there's nothing new in there. HT said all those things. And I say, great. If I show anything new, you should run. And actually, admin will probably come over and beat me over the head with a 2x4. But this is all the stuff that HT has laid out. I'm just showing you how I process the information to move one step closer, one step closer, one step closer. So number one, read the posts. And every day you start out reading the post, figure out what HT is trying to say, read the post, reread the post. Sometimes we find ourselves skimming too fast over the post. We miss a word, we miss a line, and it messes up our thinking because all the posts relate to the one before and tell us something about the market. And by the way, for those of you that haven't been here before, new to the room, if there aren't any new posts or there haven't been any new posts for a while, that means there's no new information. Nothing has changed. I find sometimes new people, clicking in, is everybody still here? Yeah, we're still here. Nothing's changed, so all the posts are the same. Just a little tip. Number 2, get a picture of what the posts mean. Reading the post is one thing, but this helps with the trading pad. Write down your levels, and there's a video, or will be a video on the website about how to set up your trading pad, how to write on your trading pad, how to learn from your trading pad. This is where your trading pad comes into play. You write all your levels down from the initial posts in the morning. The posts tell a story. The market flows from today into overnight session or Globex, back into the next day. HT will a lot of times summarize, every day we'll summarize what we did yesterday, what happened in Globex, how that applies to today, and figure out what that story is. You may have to reread those posts, write on your notepad multiple times to try to figure out what is he trying to say with these posts. What are these posts trying to say? And this is a daily process every day. Each step builds on the next step. So you read the post, number 1. Number 2, get a picture of what they mean. What story are they trying to tell? For today, for example, the posts said we're going to have a pullback, but we're going to be on buy side for higher targets, unless we get a breakdown for more pullback. So what story is the post trying to say in the morning? That's what you got to try to figure out. So number 3 is, then I put lines on my chart. HT talks about this in a lot of the voice sessions, so we'll probably talk more about this, but I'll show you a little bit of how I do it. I use, as you can see on my chart, I use just a open, high, low, close bar. I don't use candlesticks, just a preference. I use a 5-minute chart, no indicators, and I read the posts. I try to figure out what's going on, write them on my trading pad, and then I'll take, in the morning, I'll come over here, and I will take from the posts and put these lines on the chart wherever they are mentioned in the posts. And I start my line, as you can see here, I'm in Central Time Zone, so 7 o'clock Central or 8 o'clock Eastern Time is when the posts start. So all the levels that were given at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, I put right at 8 o'clock Eastern. I put the daily today's number as a different color, but all my other lines are gray. You can put different colors, and probably be a good idea to put the ones above a separate color from the ones below. Ones below, we're either going to be taking profit or buying. Ones above, we're either going to be taking profit or entering a new sell. And that'll come more clear as we go along. You can use different thicknesses in your lines. You can use solid versus dotted. As you can see down here, I've got a dotted line. I use these dashed lines for my breakdowns, or I would use it as a breakout if there was a breakout. I also use dashed lines if one of the posts says best if holds. So that I put a little dash line there, so if it goes below that, or up here, if it goes above that, I know that it hold. It was best if hold, so it didn't, so it might pull back a little bit more, whatever the context of the posts are. So put your lines on the chart. And as the day goes on, then, you can see this line started right here just after 9:30, 9:35-ish Central Eastern Time. There was another post because we were on buy side, and our next level was at 1648. So I started the line right there. So when I look back on the day, I can look at my chart and I can say, here's this, when I look at this line, I know that that came from a post approximately about this time. So it helps me to keep things in context as the day progresses. So that was number 3, put lines on your chart. And as the day moves on, then you'll add more lines. Okay? Number 4, I also then will put boxes on my chart just before a line based on the posts where I think an entry will be. And as you're learning this, you may get all messed up. You may put boxes over here, over there, over there. Change them as you go. As you start learning this and you got the box in the wrong spot, you're buying, you're buying way up here, and you buy high, we buy low and sell high, and you thought you had to buy up. Well, you find out that was wrong. We'll put it down where it's supposed to be. Move that around, okay? So we had a buy up against today's number, and we'll talk more about that When that didn't go anywhere, we had another buy down here at 1643 based on the posts. One of the biggest keys is getting the entries right. Each of these steps builds on the other. If you're confused at the entries, then don't worry about anything else. Just do 1, 2, and 3 until you really get the entries down. Watch, once you get this box on here and you say, okay, this one didn't hold, so we're, didn't go anywhere, so we're gonna, this is a buy down here, okay, great. And look at the difference. This one dinked around, and then moved down to the next one. Okay, this one was 1 5-minute bar and off it took. So put your entries here as you see them. You shouldn't even have your dome open at this point. You're not trading. You're just learning how to digest the posts. And one of the very good ways of doing that is putting the box where you think the entries will be. Now, if it's a sell, if you think there's a sell, you can put a box up here and make it a red color. Obviously, the blue or green would be I've got blue, dark blue here for buys, reds for sells. My squares are my entries, and I'll get to this ovals here. These are TSPs in a bit. But step 4 is putting boxes on your chart where you think the entries should be, and that'll take some time to learn based on what the posts are saying, based on the context, where the entries should be. But you got to get the entries down first. If you get mixed up, one day is all messed up and you didn't really understand, step back. Go back to reading the post, reread your notes, put lines on the chart, and move forward again. Then watch how the market reacts when it gets to that area. So really, if the market trades inside your box, you're probably, if you were trading, you'd be long at that point. You'd be long at that point. You'd be long at that point. So watch the market. Don't put your dome on. Don't start trading before you should be. This is the learning phase. Don't do anything but watch the market, how it responds to the lines, and based on that, where would the entries be? And that'll help tremendously as you go forward. The other thing I do, step number 5, is I put significant comments on my chart. I don't want to overwhelm my chart and make it too busy to my eyes, but I do want to put on things like bonus money. Up here, initial post right out of the gate was bonus money above north of 47.5. So I put bonus money in a little box so that I see if the market trades up to that area, I know that that's a bonus money area. I put breakdown for more pullback. I don't necessarily have to because I've got the dotted lines and I know my purposes that that's how I mark my chart, is that means a breakdown for more pullback or a breakdown for reverse. Okay, but I will put little notes on here as we go along to help remind me things like bonus money, maybe good enough, maybe take profit, maybe breakout, breakdown, maybe has to hold, maybe pullback mode, something like that. Something that HT says, maybe he says the market is still weak, something significant to you. Don't clutter up your chart, just a couple words to make it make sense to you. Like down here, right before the open, here's 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern, right at the open. Just about that time, HT said, this is just a pullback as long as breakdown holds. Okay, so just remember, we're not on sell side. We're still looking for a long as long as this level holds. So it's something to just remind you that what the posts are saying. So that's number 5. Put significant comments on the chart. Don't clutter it too much, just a couple. Number 6 is I mark TSP spots, or where I should take profit or where HT says to take profit. I'll put a little oval. Mine are green, a little oval. Whether it's a long or a short, if we were on a, short and we went down to here, I'd put a little oval down here and the market moved down, I'd take profit. So the green, so the little ovals are really just TSPs to try to teach me where I should properly take profit. Because you got to get a balance between fear and greed. If you're taking, when you look back at your day and you took profits too soon, you probably have some fear going on. And you've got to learn to hold to the right proper TSP and watch videos on the website about exits and stops and entries. All of this will play into how you do all of this stuff during the day. But if you're not taking profit and you say, well, I'm gonna wait till another level down here to take profit. I'm not going to take profit where HT says to TSP. It may never get down there. He's saying take TSP for a reason. And so number 6 is mark TSPs on your chart. This is what I did. You don't have to do it, but this I started marking TSPs so that I can start analyzing my trades and seeing if I was taking profits in the right spot and working on that. So if you're not taking profits in the right spot, go back up a step and say, okay, number 5 is putting comments on the chart. Is there anything there I should be doing because of the posts, because of the little comments? Back up another one, putting boxes. Am I getting my entries in the right spot? If I'm not getting the TSPs in the right spot, are my entries right? Reevaluate that. So number 7 then, once you've got that all down, entries down, and you're watching the market, TSPs where you should, now is when you can open up the dome. And number 7 is open up the dome and trade in sim with a 1 lot. And the HT has a whole way of doing that. We talk about that in Silver Room chat, and he'll probably put a video on the website at some point about how to ramp up size. That's the start of that process. Number 7 is once you've spent enough time, enough days, maybe enough weeks, maybe months, and just digesting the posts, putting lines on the chart, marking where entries you think they might be, where TSPs are, or where you think they might be. Now you can start trading if you understand all of that. Take a one lot in sim. Okay. Now, step number 8 is, this is where I had some of my most trouble was I get in the trades, but I didn't know how to manage the trades. Number 8 is learn to manage the trades. This is where the rubber meets the road. Once you're in a trade, now you're in sim, you're trading a 1 lot, and if this is a proper entry, HT mentioned a buy up against today's number at 44.50, so we put our box there. When the market traded down to that area, we're long. Now, did the market take off and go to our targets up here, or did it dink around? And this is where you have to learn to manage the trade. Don't panic in, don't panic out, don't get upside down. By this time, your entries should be right. You should be getting your entries, so you're getting in. Now the job is to manage this trade. You should either manage this for a small gain or a break even, very worst, a very small loss. Okay, the market pulls down, we got another entry down here. Okay, within a bar, we've already seen that this trade works. And in HT posts, 1645, 75, TSP. Conservative TSP, I mark an oval, and that's where I take my 1 lot off. When you're in a trade that's not working and you're hearing in your head, because we've heard HT do voice sessions on this time and time again, if it's not working, get out, get out, get out. And you should start hearing that in your head. If the trade isn't working, get out. Because when it's working, it'll work and it'll go to the target. So we don't want to panic out, and that's a balance for me as a new trader, as somebody trying to migrate away from a retail trader mindset to a professional trader. I would panic out too soon, I'd panic out too late, I'd get upside down, I'd take a big loss, and I didn't really understand how to do it. So hopefully this system of working you through this process of working you through this will help you to overcome a lot of that. So number 8 is learn to manage the trade. Number 9 is, it's right into HT's process of ramping up size, and that is you should be green for 10 days. If you're not green for 10 days in a row, you can't go on. And you may go backwards. You may stop trading in sim and go back to just marking your charts, because now you see things a little differently. Okay, let's mark these entries and let's see how we would do this in our head. Watch the market, watch the posts, so on and so forth. So number 9 is you got to be green for 10 days to be able to move on. And when I look back at the day, if I'm not green, or if I am green but it's a smaller amount than I think I probably should have, did I do what was posted? HT talks about this all the time. Look back at the day. And when I mark the charts this way, as the day goes on, I can then go back at the end of the day and look at all these spots. I only marked up for you guys just the front part of the day here. But then at the end of the day, then I'll go back and look at where I got in, and did I take profits in the right spot? What was the bigger picture of the day? Was I on the right side? What did HT post? Reread that. Based on that, what should I have done? Or what should I have done better? What did the market do when it got to those levels? Is there something I should learn about that so that I can put that in my memory banks for next time? Is there a trade that I should have seen that I didn't see? Is there a trade that I took that I shouldn't have taken? All those things will play into whether you can be green for 10 days in a row. So number 9 is you got to be green 10 days in a row. Number 10 is then you work on ramping up size. You go from 1 lot sim to 3 lots in sim, 10 days green. At that point, then you can move on to real money, 1 lot, 10 days green, then you can move up to 3 lots, at least 10 days, and NHT says a lot longer than that. But this is the process that I sort of boiled everything down into these 10 steps, and I still sort of do this every day. Number 1, I read the post. Number 2, what story is it trying to tell me? Number 3, I put all that on my trading pad and try to get a picture of what they're trying to say. Number 3, from that I put the lines on the chart. Number 4, as the market starts to trade, I put boxes where I think the entry should be, and then of course put your trade on if you're past that spot. Then number 5, I make significant comments. Number 6, I take TSP where it should be, and then 7, 8, 9 is basically just evaluating, managing your trades, and ramping up size. Don't try to go too fast. Some days will be good, some days you'll understand, and some days will be very confusing. You'll get to the end of the day and you'll be like, what the heck was that? I was on the wrong side the whole day. Well, reread some posts, look at your boxes. Did I have entries in the right spot? Did I take profit in the right spot? Move on to the next day. Close it down. Tomorrow's a new day. And if you miss a trade, big deal. There's trades all day long, every day, all week long. So this has helped me. Hopefully, it'll help you guys in getting started and progressing through as you get closer to being a professional trader. Thanks, everybody.
That was awesome. Thank you. I had no trouble following what you were saying from my perspective in terms of delivering what we say all the time, but it's always good to hear it from a different perspective. 2 major things I picked up in your talk was, yes, do not scan the posts. That is a typical newbie mistake. And some of us, when we get lazy or when we think we're, in sync or so in sync or too in sync maybe, that we can get lazy about reading everything posted. It's not just the levels, it's also the story and or the conditions that might prompt the market going the other way, breaking or reversing or whatever. So good point on that. Bad habit to just scan the posts. You can in the morning when you're making your lines or levels, but read, and I mean read, word for word. It's very literal, pretty straightforward, and succinct. So there's more information there than may appear at first glance, especially the more you get in sync. Okay, so that's a great point. Don't scan the posts, read the posts. And the other point you brought up, which was also very good, was retail traders tend to panic. Hyperactive mind or mind-dead traders tend to panic when they don't get fed a constant stream of input or information. No new posts means no new info. Nothing's changed, nothing to do. I don't post just to post. I don't talk just to hear myself talk. I don't type just to try to get good at it. I gave up on that decades ago. I suck at typing. I'm dyslexic as heck, but most of you realize that after a while. I don't even see them unless I review them later. So I apologize, but it is what it is. Somebody points it out, like Moderator B, I'll go back and correct it. But aside from that, it's about conveying the information, not about my typing skills, not about my grammar or my diction. It's about conveying in a succinct, abbreviated fashion as much information as possible in as brief a time as possible. So when there's nothing posted, it's usually because market's not moving. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Or as Jack Nicholson would say in A Few Good Men, what do you want to talk about next, Danny? My favorite color? There's nothing else to do, so don't go crazy. And wanting to do something doesn't make it okay to do something. Just keep that in mind. Finally, the way that we take notes from a conceptual standpoint is the same. Whether or not you use dashed or dotted lines or different thicknesses or different colors or all of the above, that's fine. It's you on your screens. It's your career. It's your money. It needs to make sense to you. I highly recommend that you do what we are recommending that you do. How you do it or how you stylize it to make it your own, that's up to you. That's fine. I would try to keep it or default more to the simple. More information, especially more on your charts, isn't better. It's more confusing. Keep it simple. Okay? However you want to weed it out or lay it out is up to you. But I would say try to get as much information encrypted in sort of your own little shorthand way, fine, so that your chart isn't as busy or as cluttered. I think what Moderator B has shown here is a phenomenal way of taking notes. He's stylized his software, his charting software, which is on Ninja, to make those little boxes and to come up in those colors. And he's got the entries for buy-side trades in blue, entries for sell-side trade in red boxes, and then the TSP either way in those little green ovals. Brilliant. It's perfect. Simple. Concise. Make it simple. Keep it simple. I'm a simple guy. I'm a simple, straightforward guy. I try to post that way. I try to think that way. I try to act that way. I try to run things that way. So when in doubt, default to literal in its simplest forms. What does it say? What does that mean?